I greet you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. My name is Shayne Goss, and I'm a level 2 QHHT practitioner in Atlanta, Georgia. That's of Dolores Cannon's Quantum Healing Hypnosis technique. And Dolores Cannon was the pioneer of past life regression. So in QHHT, we work in the theta brainwave state to create a good, clear connection to the subconscious, which we short-term use SC. But that doesn't mean just the personality subconscious of the entity that you are now, but all the lives that you've ever lived. And within the session, since you're in such a deep, relaxed state, we are able to find the most appropriate lifetimes that have information that can be important and helpful in the present lifetime, and ask questions to your subconscious or higher self aspect that has the records of all the lives that you have ever lived and all the information that can be helpful for you at this time. So I had a client, his name is Denny. He is an experienced channeler and an author of a metaphysics book that is soon to be published, which I'm very excited about. But he reached out to me. He was very curious about this technique, even as an experienced channeler, because you can get in such a deep state, and with the help of someone like me, a practitioner, can help ask those questions and dig for that information that would be helpful for the client. So when Denny came to me, we had an amazing past life in our first session that had held so much information for what he's working through and going through now, but also we were able to speak to his higher self aspect, which is, like I said before, we call it the SC, but it's the higher self, the Christ consciousness within us, the oversoul, the universal subconscious, universal mind. Those are all terms used to describe the subconscious, but they don't have a name. So that's what we call the higher self, or the SC for subconscious in QHHT. So his higher self aspect was able to give us so much more information about the new earth. Is a 3D term that we use to describe it. It's really not a new earth, but the awakening and moving into 5D, and all the information that we need to go within and do that shadow work, and a lot of deep information about that would be helpful to everybody at this time, as well as what we're seeing as we wake up, the negative entities that have had a hold on the planet and the history of that. They had a lot to say about it, what they call the black magicians. And so that's shedding light on their agenda and what we can do, which is first going within and doing all this inner work, getting rid of fear and karma and things like that. So we had so much information, and his higher self suggested that we not just write a book like Dolores did when she would collect all this material over years and years and compile it together based on a topic or subject, but that in this time of technology, that it would be faster and more efficient if we work together on a video series. So that is what we're doing here. And if you have found this video, then I trust that there's information here for you that you have been seeking. So welcome. And I'm so excited to be working with Denny. I found a new friend in the process. And it's really awesome because I'm learning so much from him as a person, of course, but also his higher self aspect, who has so much to say. So there will be a continuation of these videos. So I ask that if you do have any questions, just put them in the comments, and we can ask that in upcoming sessions and everything. So yeah, just go ahead and like and subscribe the video for more content like this. I'll be uploading some other sessions that my clients have consented that they would like to share that could be helpful for others. And it's just amazing the wonderful things that happen within this technique and the people that you meet and all the information that can be so helpful to you, even as a practitioner. So if you're interested in having your own QHHT session, then you can message me at Shayne Goss, QHHT@gmail.com. That's the best way to reserve a session with me. And I'm booking from mid-September 24 to the end of the year right now. So go ahead and reserve your time in advance. It's all in divine timing. And I do invite you to come to Sacred Soul, where my office is, Sacred Soul, Mind, Body, Spirit. It's in Canton, which is on the outskirts of Atlanta. And that's where my office is and where I work. But we also have a classroom where we have Universal Healing Sanctuary that does regular metaphysics meetups. It's a metaphysical ministry. So we do a lot of amazing classes and workshops and community building in there. And we have some really great people in there. And we're all just learning and growing from one another as we do this inner work, and that is very important. And another topic that Denny's higher self keeps saying over and over again is the power of us coming together during this time of the shift is amazing. The unity, the unconditional love, the cooperation and co-creation of this new world we're going into, which is our higher state of consciousness and embodying that higher self within us. So this is my long-winded intro for you today, but if you're interested in a QHHT session, you can message me, Shayne Goss, QHHT@gmail.com, and like and subscribe. Add in the comments any questions you have for Denny and I, and we will get to them. And I hope you enjoy. I know you will enjoy this video series. Do I have permission to ask questions?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, there are many around here.
There are many around here? Many of his cavalry, as he calls it?
Yes, of course.
Okay. That's good. Yes, so we feel very supported and protected and safe during this time that we have together today. Thank you so much. So I have a few questions to start us off for today as we're here together. The biggest question we have to start out with is, from your perspective, who is Denny? What is his mission here?
Well, for want of a better way to say that, it's a special emissary.
A special emissary?
He holds energy in a space so that other people who all have the same frequency let me rephrase that. If you're a painter, you have to have a canvas to paint on.
Mm-hmm.
Without a canvas to paint on, you can't paint. Now, if a good painter can paint on any kind of surface and use that as a canvas to express their art. In this case, he holds a space so that the spiritual influence can flow through without impediment. And if all he did was that for the rest of his life, everything would turn out fine. But because of his past experiences, he's seen that a similar thing is going on in today's world, and he's not real happy with it. So he's brought us together to help make this shift easier for the people on the planet.
Yeah. Okay. which is an incredible mission to have at this time.
Well, to be blunt, the energy system that you think is real has been clouded. It makes everybody look through into their life and what they see around them through dark glasses.
Yeah.
There's no way they can see reality unless they, what they now call the matrix, unplug themselves from that. And then if they do that correctly, they won't go through mental breakdown, nervous breakdown, which is what happens when they see what's happening. And then you want to scream and yell. How does that happen? When you're born into it, you have no choice.
So, in Denny's mission, it's to help with this process. Is that correct, or is there more to it?
I didn't quite understand your question.
Is this Denny's mission to help with this process?
Not necessarily, but as a human being, you can change your mission once you find out what it is. If you're not happy with it, you can change it and do what you want, which is what he did.
Yeah. Okay. So we still have free will to choose what we want to work on?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
you know, free will works on the other side where we are. We can't interfere with that.
Yeah.
Unless you ask for an intervention.
Yeah.
So if you ask for an intervention, then we can intervene to some degree to make a shift, which is one of the things that he came up with after pondering the problem for years.
Yeah.
What to do, how to make the shift.
Mm-hmm.
So the conclusion was form groups of people in uneven numbers, 5, 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. And design a system where you can punch holes in the veil
Mm-hmm.
and increase the, shall we say, download of energies coming in from higher realms.
Okay. So how, in the grouping together part of everything, how would that process work exactly? Is this something that is an idea that was given?
It's so
From you?
simple, anybody can do it.
Okay. What would that look like?
If you pray, you're using that energy.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is we say it out loud, which forces the intention and the vibration of that intention into the physical universe through your voice. It empowers the entire planet. That's the difference.
Okay. All right. But working together in groups will make this process go in even faster?
Well, Master Jesus told us that you have the power to tell that mountain to move, it'll move.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't believe you have any power, how can you tell it to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that he came up with was, if you have an intention and every person in the group is aligned on that intention, and there's no one over there saying, oh no, this is a better way to do it than that. Until you have alignment, it won't work. And then you have to speak the same words at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and speak them into existence. and say them at minimum of 3 times, one after the other, just like a chant. So if you want to do it successfully, then you would want to understand the rhythm of music. And once you understand the rhythm of music and how that works, you can create a powerhouse of energy going into the physical universe that will transform the energies from darkness into light, which is what all of you are here to do to begin with.
Yes, thank you so much for that. So, going back to the belief systems people have.
Belief systems.
That's maybe blocking their awakening during this time of ascension. Is there anything that you can give us on that?
Free will. So you have to understand what a belief is, don't you? Do you know what a belief is?
I believe I do.
Well, speak that. Speak that. Tell us what you think.
So I know that there can be very many limiting beliefs. So that was what I wanted to focus on.
Well, we're going to focus on that.
Yeah.
But you have a belief system. Do you know what it is? What does it do for you?
Yeah. So each person is operating on their own belief system.
That's not true.
Okay. So that's what I was wondering about.
Where do
these belief systems come from?
What we're talking about is the belief system itself.
Oh, okay.
You see, we're going to evaporate this person's belief or that person's belief or the group belief. We're just going to talk about belief systems, right? So one way to look at that is we're in Africa or India where there's wild animals and your son walks out into the jungle and there's a tiger in the jungle. But the son doesn't know that the tiger is dangerous, and so he's not afraid of the tiger. So he walks up to the tiger, and the tiger just looks at him, and, oh, it's a little kid. And the little kid speaks to the tiger and pets the tiger. Oh, that's fun. But when Daddy walks out there, oh, no, he's going to get eaten by the tiger. And he's all scared. Now the tiger roars and scares the kid. And now we have fear involved. And there was no fear to begin with, was there? So fear is a belief system. It doesn't friggin' exist. So what the nature of a belief system is, a bridge over the abyss of I don't know. Most humans can't stand the fact that they're living in a space of faith only, and they can't know everything, so they have to create a bridge. The bridge is the belief system.
Okay. All right.
And they can be positive or negative. A positive belief system could generate for you endless wealth if you know how to do it. Or it can run you into the depths of despair. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's just the energy system that you created with your free will.
So what would be the most constructive way for someone to use positive, belief, like their faith,
Well,
using their free will to surrender
you can do that, but then you're in a positive negative situation.
Okay.
So you've created a bridge, but the bridge is a negative situation whether you created it yourself or it was created before you and you bought into it, doesn't matter. So you have to discreate that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build something new on top of something old. You have to create a clearing somehow.
Yeah.
So first you have to find the belief system that's not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to take responsibility for creating it, even though you didn't create it, you bought into it. So in that sense, you have to still take responsibility for building that bridge. And so the only way to do that is through forgiveness. So you have to forgive yourself first for building the bridge, and then see why you built it, and then discreate it. And how many bridges did you build to build that one? You have to discreate all of those so you have a clearing, right? You can't build a house on the sand, and it rains, the sand evaporates, and the house collapses. That doesn't work, does it?
Mm-mm.
So here we are, we want to build a new house, and we're looking, and all we have to build a house is a big forest. We can't build a house on the forest, we have to cut the forest down. Then we have to fix the land, create a foundation, and build a new house. So that's what you have to do. The foundation is the essence of what you are. You know, this physical body is a temple of the living God, and so you have to build a house on that rock. You can't build it in the sand
Mm-hmm.
that humans create for themselves. It's just an illusion.
Yeah. Okay, but we can always change our belief system.
Of course.
So that's the takeaway.
Free
for
will is a
that.
powerhouse.
Yeah. And
What you have to remember is that you're just not human to begin with. Who you are is a eternal being of the light. And I'm the higher self, so I sent part of myself into physical existence. And that, as dense as the atmosphere is still a creative event.
mm-hmm.
And so Denny, who is my emissary, call it, in the physical world, is a co-creator with me
Mm-hmm.
as the Christed being. So that's empowering to, once you know that, right? And whether you're able to use that, whether you're, oh gosh, that's too much power, I'm scared of that power. You have to get over all that junk.
Mm-hmm.
And so his system bypasses all of that.
Okay, so how can you explain how the higher self works?
Higher self.
Mm-hmm. As far as the incarnations.
That's a long history lesson we should go over at some other point. But
Okay, we could come back to that later. Maybe
how does that work? Let me see if I can.
If you can put it into shorter terms for us to.
Yes, let's get that into terms where it's easy, right?
Yeah,
because you can use it for a reference point. So let's go there, right? You can't really understand what's going on in the world today without a reference point.
Mm-hmm. And that was my next question, is about reference points.
So if your identity is your reference point, that's you channeling your ego. And your ego is not a real self, it's just a facsimile that the higher self creates just so it can get into the physical environment, right? Material realm. So what the higher self generally does is it tells the ego 3 lies, and the 3 lies drive the ego, so it has an agenda, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And with the 3 lies, those 3 lies take the emissary through the material realm on an experiential journey. Now, there's no telling how many lifetimes that particular one went through. Could be 1,000 lifetimes. But they have past stuff they have to deal with, right? They tend to call it karma. We look at it as cause and effect. Either one, it's the same. So if you affected a lot of negative stuff, then your job is to balance all that out. So part of the job you have in each lifetime is to balance some of the past stuff out, try to create something new, and have an altogether different experience than you had the last time. And all of that's an envelope that's created on the other side before you ever re-enter. And we don't call it reincarnation anymore. We call it rebirth. Birth and rebirth goes on endlessly until you come to the point of, golly, this is what's going on. And I don't really need to do this anymore because I can experience the rest of this ascension process on the other side and just don't have to come back.
Yeah. So...
unless you want to, of course.
Yeah.
Which is your choice. For instance, if certain things hadn't happened in the past, let's say, then none of what you think you know today would be going on. It wouldn't even exist. We would live in for want of a better way to say it, a more utopian civilization, where society works with 100% cooperative effort rather than competitive effort. In cooperative effort, you have endless power because the communities work together to stimulate and assist each other because they understand what the goal of life on this planet is about. And that's infinite power right there.
Mm-hmm.
The name of this planet that we gave it is called the Garden of Eden. So if you can even comprehend what that means, and you know that that's the goal that you set for yourself, then obviously it's easy once you understand that as your reference point. And then a lot of the strange belief systems that's been created just seem to evaporate. But it's all belief system.
Thank you so much for that information. Right. Okay. So, Denny has a couple projects going on in his life. He has an amazing metaphysics book that is not yet published. And he's working on another book, a couple other books. Could you give us any information about how important why this type of spiritual information needs to come out at this time? Like the work we're doing today, why that's important, this information?
Um, I'm going to use a colloquial term that's now in circulation on the planet called the Great Reset. And that's happened many, many, many times.
Yeah.
And so in this particular system, the Great Reset is happening positively and negatively simultaneously. Where the black magicians are, who have been in control for 10,000 years, have been told that their days are numbered and are now faced with, we're losing control. And so the light workers are massed in unison, even though they don't know what they're fighting, what they call good versus evil. And there is evil in the world today, unfortunately. Even if you don't understand what the word evil means, it's there nevertheless. So that's what's going on in this tribulation period. So we're probably halfway through, maybe, hopefully halfway through. If we can create a unified effort of all light workers finally decided they want to work together and let go of their egos, we'll be all right. If that doesn't happen, then you're going to have a civil war.
Okay. And that civil war, that would be more good versus evil than...
Oh, well, the possibilities are endless, that's.
Yeah.
But from this particular point, if you use this exact position, time, space, it doesn't look too good.
So, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, always.
Oh,
right?
Well, that's another story altogether.
Okay. All right. So what can we do now? You said the light workers coming together. We have a great awakening that's happening, that's exposing all of the darkness in the dark organizations.
They're very powerful, by the way. But they're not more powerful than what we've been talking about, creating the correct kind of bridge over the I don't know, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that individually or collectively. So collectively we have more power, but how the collectively comes together, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the power of intention, right? So, in kind of addressing that intention, what is that? Is that an idea? Is that a reality? Or is it a thought? What is it? So, we're here in Georgia, in Atlanta, and there's another person in Australia, and we tap into the same idea stream. The distance is irrelevant. The energy is the same. The attention is the same. And the energy that we're tapped into is the same. So we're in conjunction. And so because we're doing that, even though we don't know each other, there's a third person in Russia doing the same thing, tapped into the same place. Now we have a triangle of people operating different places in the world, having the same intention, having the same idea, and trying to do the same thing in the physical world. And they don't know each other. But
that is beautiful.
you see, the energy system in thought form doesn't understand distance. It just understands energy. And so it's going to transfer the energy the same to each person. So now you have a triangulation of that thought field operating in opposition to the black magicians. And they can't do anything about it because they have no power. The only power they have is by convincing you or Denny or some other human being that what they're telling them is correct. And use their power to forward their nefarious deeds.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I just imagined as you were speaking the planet and each light worker doing this work is like lighting up the grid.
Well, that's one of his things. He says, don't try to heal yourself. Don't try to convert something. Mm-hmm. You understand? Don't try to convert something. Like we have a bunch of lying creeps in D.C., right? Do we want to create a system where they have to speak the truth no matter what? Yeah, you could do that. But, you know, what is that going to do? What is that really going to do at the overall scope of what's going on here? So if we just concentrate on let's heal the planet, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. Trash in the ocean and pollution and, you know, stuff that shouldn't even exists because of greed and avarice. So if we just heal the planet, right? Mm-hmm. If that's our focus and we can align on that, you're on the planet. So if you're healing the planet, you're healing yourself. Whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. So let's focus on, let's heal the planet to the best of our ability. What sort of intention could we use to heal the planet herself, right? You know, it can't be that difficult to come up with something, you know, that you believe in to heal the planet, you know. Because if you heal the planet, the people who are on the planet, we're all together, part of the whole life of this place.
That sounds like it would be a huge deal to do that if everybody decided we're going to heal this planet and decided on one thing together.
That's right.
As a planet.
That's correct.
As you know, as being part of the planet, on the planet, loving the planet, seeing the unity there.
Right. Well, here's a calculation, right? There's probably... there's 15 billion on the planet, but there's only 8 billion that you would consider the civilized world, right? There's a lot of indigenous species that nobody knows about, okay? So if we just take the 8 billion people, if you want to make a shift, it only takes 10%. What's 10% of 8 billion? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So, and that would create a huge planetary energetic shift.
It would be instantaneous.
Yeah.
It would happen in one day.
Really? That is powerful stuff. Very powerful.
I sent him to a lady who uses the Akashic Records. And he was trying to confirm some of the stuff that he thought he knew. And so, of course, she just confirmed everything because everything he knows is true. And so he said, look, I've been working on this project. he worked on this project for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. So what he came up with is the vibration of music, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're back during the Second World War. They changed the physical music from 432 to something else, right? 432 is what the human body vibrates at. But what if you change it to 444? If you tune A to 444, C becomes 528, which is instantaneous healing.
Mm-hmm.
So, in his little investigation of this, he created himself as a billionaire, and he went over to another country, and he bought a music agency, and he taught the musicians and singers, how to shift that from whatever they were using to 444. And that expanded, and of course, as that expanded, and they began to sing their tunes and their songs, all created in that vibrational frequency, there was a huge shift happening as they expanded, because everybody resonated to that frequency, because it felt so good when they heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And another way of describing that is, he would say that to the girl, maybe, you don't see the worth of what you're doing, but you have this beautiful music and this beautiful tune, and there's this, might be your mom or your dad, who's at that job they may not really like, but they're committed to having a family and supporting that family, and that's what they decided to do. But here they are having to drive home. Traffic is awful. People are honking, and they're just frustrated. But now you just I'll just find something on the radio, channel, and there your tune comes up. And, it's so heartwarming that it just relieves all the stress and everything. Forget about all that other stuff that they went through previously. For 3 minutes, they're happy and joyful. That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
Think of millions of people listening to that tune having the same experience.
Mm-hmm. Very powerful.
Exactly.
Positively charged. Yeah.
Mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So if we as a planet decide on, you said about 10%, is that the shift?
Well,
is that where a major shift would happen?
How did we come up with that? How did I come up with that number? And I came up with it because he figured it out.
Okay.
So how did he figure it out? Well, he got involved in this book called The 100th Monkey.
Okay.
And, back in the 50s when that book was written, there was the big threat of nuclear annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
And so this person, Ken Keyes, he's come up with this 100th monkey thing that he found. And this experiment actually happened in the late 40s, after the Second World War. And though they were studying these monkeys on the very specific islands out there, and these monkeys only live in this particular area. So this, on the one island where the scientist was working with his tribe, one of the mothers was taking the sweet potato things, and that's what their main food was, and would take it into the water and wash them before she fed the kids with it. And that went on for a long time. And so he's calling on the radio, phone, whatever it is they used it those days, to talk to one of his colleagues on another island. And the colleague on the other island is talking to him about his troop is doing exactly what, but he never told him that his monkeys were doing it. And that's the 100th monkey. So scientists just basically humbugged that for a long time. Mm-hmm. So he's doing his investigations, and he finds this college who got an, let's really find out if this works, And so they proved that the 100th monkey effect was real. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's a college and it's a professor and he has to write a book. So he can't call it the 100th monkey. He has to call it something else. So they just renamed it. Yeah. Typical ego junk. So they call it the tipping point.
Okay.
So, he didn't advertise it or anything, but, he's a professor. He wants to get recognition for his work and, give honor to the students that actually proved that it worked. So, he has to write a paper and publish it in a journal. Well, the advertising company's got a hold of that and said, see, this works. Let's try it. So if you look at what they do, you'll see how that works. That's where the 10% came up with. Through their advertising efforts, they knew in any demographic area when they had a 10% involvement, call it, of advertising in that particular area, that the product sales went up. Simple.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. But would this be, as far as the shifting of the planet and everyone waking up and coming into their Christed nature, could this...
Repeat the question.
As far as the ascension of the planet at this time, could this technique, if you want to call it a technique, be
it would
supportive?
Would accelerate it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's just what I
Right.
wanted to get confirmation on.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the ascension, so
Yeah.
that's what everybody is on the ascension destiny. So it doesn't matter if you're on this planet, you're on the ascension destiny. Period.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Whether you're doing it intentionally or automatic, it doesn't matter. That's what you're doing.
Okay. And that was actually my next question is, in working with Dolores Cannon, she spoke a lot about the new earth split, that a lot of souls are leaving because they want to stay in 3D to have 3D experience, but thus ascending or moving forward into a different dimension.
Foolishness.
Yes?
Foolishness.
Okay. Can you explain to me what has happened?
So there's 3 energy systems going on the planet presently, right? It's still the same planet. So let's call this the left-hand side. This is the center, and this is the right-hand side. And just draw 3 circles, and they're all interconnected, right? Mm-hmm. So this left-hand side like that, and then the center like that, and in the middle here you have the Vesica Pisces. You have the same thing over here, right?
Okay.
You can see that. Even if you draw it, you'll see the Vesica Pisces because of the overlap.
Yeah.
Because here's the center of this one you drew, then you come to the radius on this side, you drew another one, the same on the other side. Right? So this right-hand side, let's call that the new earth. Mm-hmm. This is the normal earth, and this is the elite
Okay.
black magic stuff, right?
Okay.
They live in their own little bubble,
Okay.
right? These guys over here think these guys are slaves and have turned them into slaves, right?
Okay.
That's you and me, Denny and you and all the rest of the people, right? But you guys aren't happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're creating an entirely new system over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not New Earth,
Yeah.
right? It's just a new system
Yeah.
that should already be here,
Yeah.
right? Because we created it at Atlantis, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was already in place. It was already working.
Mm-hmm.
We would already be there,
Yeah.
except for the black magicians.
Yeah.
So, oops, what did I hit?
It's okay. I got it.
So
So,
that, so if you want to call that the new Earth, that's a new Earth.
she
but it's
said
not,
that for
it's
simplicity.
not going anywhere,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
still the physical Earth that you live on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a new civilization, a new way of thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's thinking from a higher level, right?
Yeah.
It's understanding why you're here, right? Why are we here? Why are we incarnated on this strange planet on the edge of this universe?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But in a
They don't ask the right questions, that's the problem. They don't. Critical thinking has somehow escaped the entire planet. So, golly. We're having an epidemic of stupidity.
so okay. Are we still speaking to Denny's higher self aspect, or is one of his guides come in?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
You know I have to draw from his, in order to speak through him, I have to draw and use his stuff, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, you're taking from his communication.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So
He sees it. He's not blind. Nothing he can do. And if he sees it, I see it.
all right.
And, you know, to use a colloquial term, it pisses him off. And I'm not real happy either.
All right. So, thank you for that explanation on the what is happening with that right now, because I know that there have been some examples of it, but what you said did match up with one of the examples as well. So, thank you so much for saying that.
Well, you know, there's examples of the black magician's influence, even, you know, if you go back in what they consider written history, right? The Incas, Aztecs, all that stuff, all those Egyptians, the Druids, all of that was created by the Atlanteans.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the west coast of the United States, they'll find where evidence of the Atlanteans was there. Some of it, they have no clue what it is, but it's there. So the Atlanteans were trying to create a whole new world based on cooperative effort. And, you know, they made a mistake and let the black magicians back on the planet. And now they had to regroup.
Yeah. So there's a lot of information out there about Atlantis now, but there's so much that we don't know. So where are I know we tap into the Akashic Records, and Denny does have guidance in accessing the records as well. But where did all the written history go of
That's
these
true.
times?
Why is it missing?
Yeah, why is there so much missing information?
Why is you have to ask again and again? Why is it missing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I asked you that question, what would you say? Why is it missing?
I can make my assumptions. I have a few of them, but
Okay.
so we're remembering here,
Okay. So let's talk about the Great Reset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if okay, the Great Reset is coming. What is it? What are they going to do? What are they trying to do? So, in order to do that, they have to cast out the old. They have to rewrite history and start over again. That's called a Great Reset. And generally it takes at least a generation to do that, but they've been working on it for 100 years and haven't been able to accomplish it. But now they have to, because either they're going to win or we're going to win. So they're forced into it on their own because they're not going to give up. Why would you relinquish control of an entire planet if you didn't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, on our side, we can't kill them. That's a no-no. That's against the rules, right? Thou shalt not kill. It doesn't matter what. Thou shalt not kill. So how do we overwhelm them, right? They have no power. So we're talking about the Great Reset. The Great Reset is going to go either direction. We're going to reset it the way we want it and create what you call New Earth, or they're going to reset it into their dimension and just move this circle over to here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's what's going on. I don't know whether that answered your question or
Yes.
not.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. Can you tell us a little bit more about what to or how to help ourselves to go within and see truth during this time? Create some kind of reference point.
Oh, creating a reference point. Well, it would depend on where you are on the ascension destiny circle, okay? Let's look at frequency vibrations, very similar, right? If you're in a low frequency system, you're stuck, right? Because you can't see anything but that, and you're just living automatically day in, day out. And if you're a psychic, you're going to see that as no change for 1,000 years. Now, let's move up a little bit. Probably the fourth rung. You may be thinking there's something wrong here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're even wondering, why do I have to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and have to do that for 65 years before I can retire? And you're wondering, why is it like that? Mm-hmm. So you're questioning the reality that you're living in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it real? Is that the way it's supposed to be? Is it some other way? And so in that questing position, that alone is going to cause you to look for something else, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're a work a day person and you have to have a job and you're doing that, is there some other way I can move out of this into supporting myself with what I know? In other words, become an entrepreneur. And that will move me out of that. And then when you look at that, do I want to take the responsibility for doing that and have the responsibility of the employees I have to employ to help me do that? Or do I want to just stay where I am and just try to figure out some other way? But you see, you have created a new realm of reference for yourself just by asking those questions. You see, the answers are relatively unimportant. The whole thing is to ask the correct questions. So in that text, right, the context of asking questions, there's a system called tapping, right?
Mm-hmm.
A guy figured, this doctor, right, he got into alternative medicine. This is before medicine got overrun by the big pharma. So he was looking at acupoints and acupressures, Chinese medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I can't do that. I'm a Western medicinal person. What if I just tapped on those particular points where the healing took place? And so he developed this thing called tapping, and there's 21 places you can tap. And if you use a positive affirmation and you say that and you tap it in, it seems to help. But like I said, the answers aren't the question. If you create a positive affirmation, that's like saying this is true. What if you ask a question? Of course, the universe, if you ask a question, the universe has to answer it, doesn't it?
Yep.
So if you ask the question correctly, and it's not a positive negative, which anybody that works with the subconscious knows that the positive negative doesn't exist in the subconscious. It just overrules it and turns it into a negative thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to do this. It discounts the not and says, you're supposed to do this, right? So I'm not supposed to kill that guy. Well, it erases the not, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've just
Tends to
created
twist it
yourself as a
negative.
killer because you
Yeah.
didn't know how to speak. So that's one of the easiest things to learn, to shift your conscious awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part of that is learning how to use the questions correctly and how to make that work.
Yeah. And
we might could work on that a little bit and produce a system that does that.
yeah.
But the tapping system's been in effect for 50 years. It works perfectly.
And it is. And so just to back up, when you said subconscious, you're talking about the personality subconscious. Was it the small percentage?
You mean the identity.
Yes. Yeah.
Identity and personality are two different things.
The subconscious of an entity is different than the bigger subconscious that has all of the lifetimes. It's not just the files of that one lifetime. It's all of the lifetimes.
Well, okay. So how that works is
The filing system for
the filing
everything.
system.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, so the filing system works like this. The subconscious stores everything chronologically from the moment that the brain is functioning. And it's chronological from that.
Mm-hmm.
It just stores it positive, negative. It just doesn't know the difference. It has no, the only power it has is if you give it power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And free will is your power.
Mm-hmm.
So if the subconscious tells you something because it's repetition, right? And the repetition is negative, then you have given away your power to the subconscious to control you, and now you're living your life on automatic.
And it seems like a lot of people do that.
Everybody does that.
Yeah.
It's human nature. You can't get away with it. And the reason that happens is because, oh gosh, this physical thing that you're driving around is so complex that you have to automate certain systems just to function, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the automatic idea is sort of the programming.
Mm-hmm.
So, you learn to automate all of the muscles it takes to learn how to crawl, all the muscles it learns to walk and talk. Even though you can see, you're seeing, at that age, you're seeing in a different spectrum than you are when you're an adult. So, by the time you're, 7 years old, you can run and talk and move around and do all kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you have an idea of identity, and you have an idea of personality. Actually, at that point, you're still more or less accessing me, right?
Yeah.
Who my personality is, as being sent in there as a emissary.
Mm-hmm.
The ego is there, and the ego has the instructions, and it's probably at that point arguing with me. You gave me instructions. I'm supposed to be doing this. What are you doing interfering? And I'm saying, those instructions have a purpose.
Yeah.
They're supposed to lead you in certain directions.
And that's when you say me, you're saying
Right.
higher self aspect
Right.
we all have within
So-
us. Yeah.
And so as you move forward into adult life, you're building these identity structures, right? There's just not one identity, right? You see, it's a lot of little identities assembled that feel to you, as you're operating in this realm, as if it's one identity, it's one personality. And in your teenage years, you build that personality structure that's going to lead you into adulthood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all these tiny little identities that you have. I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah, 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 right? It's all just fake.
Yeah, it's not who you really are.
So when you come to the realization that you're an infinite, eternal personality created by God, then that's your reference point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
But you have to get there. How do I get there is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that by creating what I call an infinite reference point.
Yeah.
What Denny did is he created a reference point called the absolute.
Yeah. The absolute truth.
The absolute, right.
Yeah.
You can't separate that from anything else, right? As soon as you say absolute, you're instantly into truth, into love, into all positive things, because they're all absolute. They can't be anything else but, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another part of absolute is permanence. And what else could you think of in that context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consistency. It's all the same, right?
Yeah.
So that dragged him out of that swamp that he was in. So that's kind of how you do it. But you can do it in small ways by creating other kind of reference points. So if you have a reference point for the physical body in the terms of healing, and you understand that it's a perfect creation, it has divine design, so it can't wear out. It knows how to cure itself. And if that's your reference point, and that the main curing of the physical body is the immune system and it's infallible, you can't be sick, can you?
No.
How do I get sick? Well, a stupid belief system creates sickness, right? So that's your reference point. What belief system do I have that makes me sick? So that's your reference point.
Yeah. So it sounds like all of us getting to this understanding that we've been operating like this, and we have all these systems going at the same time and using our free will to create a better internal environment, to make those better choices.
The reference point helps you with your free will choices, right?
Yeah.
Because with the correct reference point, you can cleave the fact from the fiction.
Yeah.
So even internally, say now I'm an adult, I'm 30 years old, and there's something wrong. It's kind of driving, I'm unhappy. Even I'm unhappy, but I'm unhappy because, and now you're pointing the finger over there, right? Mm-hmm. I'm unhappy because of that. Mm-hmm. Well, that's okay. That's a reference point. Yeah. But then the other reference point is happiness itself. Where is it? Is it out there somewhere? Yes, no?
No.
I don't know. Then you're in this questioning again, the quest for happiness. Where is it? How do I find it? And then you might read a book, because you're questing, right? Mm-hmm. So your higher self is, oh, cool, wow, right. He's really looking for something. She's really looking for something. What if I just point them over here, right? And this has happened to Denny. I've done this to him several times in the bookstore, and knock a book off the shelf and hit him in the foot.
Yeah.
You have to pick it up. It fell off the shelf. I didn't reach it.
Yep. I've had that happen before too.
So they pick up this book, and this book, the whole book is a reference point about happiness. Mm-hmm. Where is it? Well, it's not out there anywhere. It's right in here. Everything is right here.
Yeah.
Right here. So, well, if happiness already exists and I already have it, where'd it go? Okay, where'd it go? Then you realize, I gave my power away to that.
Yeah.
Right? If I gave my power to that, now it has power over me. Mm-hmm. And, that's not what we're here for. Mm-hmm. But who taught me to do that? Mm-hmm. Now who do I blame for that? But you're making this quest, right? These are tiny little stepping stones in the evolution of your personal consciousness of, why am I here? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? Right? Mm-hmm. So you have to make these tiny little steps, because if you make a huge step, now you're in In where, right? It happened to you. You told me. I had a nervous breakdown. Right? His mother had a nervous breakdown. They had to send her to the hospital. I mean, it didn't affect Denny much, but anyway, that's the stuff that happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an instantaneous revelation, you have a nervous breakdown. But you can't have a breakthrough until you have a breakdown. So
it's part of the process, is what you're saying?
well, what I'm trying to tell you is, if you do it in tiny little steps, you don't have to do that. You just have tiny little breakdowns. They're easy to get through, but it's a steep learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to do it all at once? Fine, that's your choice.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now I would say to use a simple meditation technique just to be able to get yourself out of the stress of having to live through this mess that we're in is probably one way to start.
Okay, so like daily meditation.
I won't discount that. There's some really simple meditations, and I can't say that you don't know how to do it, because you can't get down here unless you know how to meditate. So it's there. It's just pick a technique and then, use it as an experiment. I'm going to experiment with meditation. And after a while, it will come upon you that you already know how to do it, and the one that's perfect for you will show up. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, because there's so many different techniques, and everybody's made to do.
If you really want the fastest, quickest, safest, you have to use Kriya Yoga.
Kriya Yoga. Yeah.
That was brought over here by Paramahansa Yogananda. Yeah,
Yogananda.
Yeah, and now Sadhguru is bringing it again, but you have to pay him $700 to learn. Yogananda still does it; it's free.
Okay.
But you have to align yourself with that lineage.
Yeah.
Denny refused to do that.
Yeah, I remember he was telling me about that before. But yeah, I've heard a lot of amazing things about doing Kriya Yoga, but you don't have to do anything like that.
It didn't fit.
Yeah.
Because, how to say this in terms of, most everybody on the planet today is driven by a specific life period, right? They call it a life stream. And so the reason he's here is because of his life stream in the latter part of the Atlantean civilization, right? He was present in the beginning, and present in the end, and in the middle he was part of the Black Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's my doing. I sent him there to do that. So,
okay.
And we're both taking responsibility for that, but he wouldn't know today that exists without that experience, right?
Yeah.
So
now, what is his plan? What is the plan to understand that Black Brotherhood? And
we don't have a fixed plan.
Okay.
We're just trying to go with the flow here.
Okay.
So he's looking at stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be public with it, but he's looking at stuff, right? So let's look at the black magician's idea, right? So their power comes from the dark side, and your reference point here when we're talking is the Emperor and Darth Vader.
Okay.
Okay. So in this context, Denny's Darth Vader and the Black Magicians are his masters, which is the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And this was a lifetime, a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Long time ago,
You're
right?
looking 30,000 years ago.
Okay.
So. Oh, where were we? Okay. So
Darth Vader and the
this
Emperor.
gives them power over the 5 elements.
Yes.
The 5 elements are earth, water, fire, air, and the etheric, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ancients talk about the etheric as spirit, but the spirit is beyond the etheric. But if you have power over the etheric energy, you have power over the subconscious. So that means that you have mental control over the subconscious of anybody. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like you put Denny in a trance and I came through, they can do that without ever speaking a word.
Okay. And they don't ask for permission either, do they?
They don't need permission.
So that's the difference is.
They don't need permission.
Okay. Because we always ask for permission.
Well,
and want
they
the
don't need
highest,
permission.
best good.
That's the evil part.
Yeah. So that's
They
the
can
difference.
just, whatever they want to do. If you watch Star Wars and you see Darth Vader and he's choking somebody, does he have his hand around the guy's throat? No.
Mm-mm.
He's telling the subconscious to choke the human body into submission.
Yeah.
Right? And if they have power over the air, what can they do? They can control the weather, right? Mm-hmm. If they have power over the water, they can create waves. They can create rain, Same thing with fire.
Mm-hmm. So Denny knows all their tricks then.
Well, they had their society was pretty. If you grew up in it, you wouldn't know anything else. It was, you didn't have to pay for anything. All you had to do is go to work. And if you were in an agricultural guild, you were growing crops, different kind of crops. If you were in an animal husbandry thing, you were raising animals for either transportation, pleasure, or food, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. It's all kind of different, house building, stuff like that. And they had to carve it all out, right? Mm-hmm. It was surrounded by mountains, so they had to cut the mountains out on the north side, and it was kind of a pathway on the south side. So they had access to the ocean on north and the south, and it was surrounded by mountains on the east and west.
Was that on Earth, or was that in a different planetary
No, that's
system?
on Earth.
Okay.
The Earth geological shifts,
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's shifting even now. Mm-hmm. So that's, they had an idyllic society. They looked at the people that did that as furniture. They're basically slaves. We own you guys. This is what you're supposed to be doing. If you do this, this is what we'll give you. Mm-hmm. You have clothes on your back. You have clothes. You have a roof over your head. You have all the food you want to eat. You can travel anywhere you want to go. Nobody asks you any questions as long as you show up for work. We don't care. Just do your job. And that was their experiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way they got on the planet, because they'd already blown up 2 planets.
Yeah.
So
And those planets were...
they blew up Murdoch, which
Yeah,
is
Murdoch.
the planet between Mars and Jupiter,
Mm-hmm.
and they blew up Mars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not completely, but so they learned some lessons. But their petition was we rehabilitate. And they didn't rehabilitate themselves. They just came up with a new concept where maybe we can do this without blowing the place up. You know,
So that's why they're here now?
yeah. You know,
When did they come back?
they got, right now it's out of hand because the masters are gone. And the only way they can communicate is with the Dark Brotherhood that's on the other side.
Yeah.
So,
But we're seeing this in our reality
Yeah.
now.
well, they taught them black magic,
Yeah.
and that's how they control everybody.
Yeah.
That's why why you guys are having rampant child trafficking and stuff, right?
Yeah. It's terrible. So,
And the way they keep themselves alive is through adrenochrome. So,
yeah.
you know.
So not only are we in a period of awakening, but we're also dealing with the black magicians.
That's correct.
So
It's a battle, if you
Yeah.
know. It's a battle in another realm. It's not. It's going on in several realms.
mm-hmm.
So,
Then I guess Star Wars isn't too far from the truth, is it?
no,
Well, in that regard.
right. I mean, the if you remember in our last session, I told you that he does stuff on the other side when he's asleep, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So,
But y'all don't let him remember everything. Y'all,
and the reason he can't remember is because it's scary, right?
yeah. That's what you said.
So what he does is he works in the etheric plane where the ghosts are.
Oh, okay. So he's in
And
that
he
realm.
creates paths so that they can get out of that and move up, right?
Okay. So he's helping them transition.
And then he builds sanctuaries.
Sanctuaries. Yeah.
I'm looking for the right word, but he builds sanctuaries in the etheric plane, right?
Okay.
So he showed a ghost a way out of the ghost, right? So the ghost has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pathway that he shows them goes from the etheric plane of the ghosts into the astral plane where there's a sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And in the sanctuary, he's convinced people to go in there and help these wayward souls to help train them. So that's what he does when he's asleep.
Okay. So and when you say ghosts, you mean the earthbound spirits that haven't crossed over.
Yes.
Right? So they've come
Right.
out of their
They've
lifetime.
they've crossed over, but they just got stuck, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens in a lot of different ways. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some, let's call them ghosts because it's easier, right?
Okay.
That are trapped, have been trapped since the Second World War.
Yeah. When big places of trauma.
Because
Right?
they got shot.
Yeah. And it happens.
And they don't know they're dead.
Yeah, it happens so fast.
Right.
They're kind of in shock or something, right? Aren't they?
Right. So
So he creates
there's
these
here's another question that I'm supposed to say, put it like that. So you have to ask yourself, why is the Dalai Lama and all of the natural Tibetans living in Nepal and not in Tibet? So
Why is that?
If that's true, what's in Tibet?
Mm-hmm.
And why did the Chinese drive the true adepts of Tibet out of Tibet?
Why is that?
Well, the Tibetans are exempt from the black magicians because their magic is stronger.
Yeah.
And the black magicians can't stand it, so they had to drive them out of their home.
I was curious about that.
Now you know.
Okay.
They convinced the Chinese that they had to do that.
Okay.
Whether they did it in a verbal conversation like we're having, or they did it through the cloud.
Okay.
Doesn't matter, they did it.
Okay. All right.
And the other part of that is you're not getting any satellite results of what's really on Tibet, are you?
Mm-mm.
Well, what would they possibly put up there? What could they possibly put up there? Think about it.
Yeah. So the black magicians have taken over that space?
What if they had intercontinental ballistic missiles up there?
Oh.
What if?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
So, going back, okay.
Let's not go any further with the Tibetan thing.
Okay, all right. So, my question is, though, during this time, can we continue to have faith and comfort in knowing that we are protected by the light, by the positive polarity?
Start over again. You have to yell, remember his hearing is bad.
So can we find comfort in knowing that we're protected and safe? Safe as in from our positive polarity guidance of love at this time?
Well, you're not necessarily safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this planet is spinning around 1,000 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's moving through the galaxy at something like 1,000,000 miles a second. And then the galaxy itself is moving through its universe about the same velocity. So you're not really safe, are you, in the physical universe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so safe is meaningless, right? Now, what you really want to know
Mm-hmm.
is self-protection.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I protect myself from external influences that I have seemingly no control over?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at that for a minute. And I just told you about the black magicians and the power over the 5 elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
And
you
the
have power over the
subconscious.
5 elements,
Yeah.
do you think anybody could get close to you to hurt you? Yes or no?
Probably not.
Probably not. It's impossible. Because number one, you would know the intention of that person coming at you.
Yeah.
And you could shift that intention and have them forget that they had that intention and they just walk away.
Yeah.
And or if you chose, right, you could allow them to approach you and confront you and just annihilate them on the spot. Just tell the water to go
Yeah.
somewhere else and they'll just be dust on the ground.
Yeah. So what do we do then? What do we do? What is the positive side doing?
Aha. That's the magic question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you take responsibility, so let's really dig deep into responsibility, right? Because there's no such thing as a coincidence. There's only synchronicity. So there's no coincidental person going to attack you unless you already corresponded to make that happen for the lesson you need to learn in that moment.
Okay.
And if you take responsibility for that and you realize, oh, I created that for this lesson, what was the lesson?
Mm-hmm.
If you take responsibility for the lesson is to learn blah, 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 whatever that was, and you take responsibility for, I created that, that's self-protection because you earned that. You learned it. It earned that. So that particular won't happen again. But if you're not taking responsibility, you're pointing the finger of blame at that person for attacking you. And that can't happen. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people can't accept that. They think, oh, that they're in this victim mentality. Is that?
Well, that's the key. Taking responsibility and accounting and accountability for why you're here, right?
So we're really just co-creating together.
You have to go all the way to the thought process, right? And then from the thought process, now we go to belief systems, and then we're into emotional systems, and emotions are stronger. So is it an emotionally driven response, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you could have an emotional response is that if you taught it to do that.
Okay.
So if you go all the way back, you have to take responsibility for it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. So the first step in self-realization is taking responsibility for the self, and it's thoughts, words, and actions, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I'm going to.
Now there's a lot of rhetoric going on about self-love, but how can you have self-love if you don't even know what that is?
Yeah.
What is it? If you don't know what it is, how can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
So where do you start?
Yes, let's talk about that.
Okay. What are the aspects of love that you could put your finger on and write it down on a piece of paper? Okay. But it's a whole lot easier to find out what it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you create a thing that he came up with called the this and that, okay, if you have this, right, this is all of the aspects that I think I know that love is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote all those down. That's in a column on one side, and that is the direct opposite.
Mm-hmm.
The direct opposite, you probably have pages of opposites, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the opposites have nothing whatsoever to do with love.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, you're working on that list, how to reduce all that, because that doesn't exist. It's something I made up.
Mm-hmm. It's usually fear-based.
Right. Now, if you say, right, in a sense, you're taking responsibility for it, and you point the finger at this one particular thing you wrote down there. Well, I didn't make that up. That's all around me, but that's not true. It's not all around you. It's human error, thinking error, that causes that. And you just bought into it because it looked like it was real. And it's not. It's just, it seems that way. Seems to be something. but in fact, it's an error thinking. So that's how you figure that stuff out.
Okay. Well, thank you for the
I mean, you can do that with
Yeah.
anything. It doesn't matter. The this that list works on any number of things.
I've seen one of Denny's lists, and it is very, very, very good, impactful. All right. So, so we were talking about things that we can do as far as taking responsibility for things that are happening, not to us, but I guess for us to learn lessons. We're coming up on our time together today. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we go that would be important?
One thing that he's pointing his finger at me, I better tell about, okay? So, a while ago I told you about this circle over here, the circle in the center, right? In a circle over here. Well, we're going to take this circle out, and we're going to leave this circle here and this circle here, and then we're going to draw a circle around it like that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to label these circles. The circle on the left is possibility. The circle on the right is probability.
Yeah.
And the big circle is potentiality.
Yeah.
Now, potentiality exists all the time. It never goes anywhere. And it's called the instant now. Okay. So, possibility over here is, I think I want to do something. It doesn't matter what that something is. I want to get up from the bed and walk into the bathroom. That's a possibility, right? So, right over here, simultaneously, probability, which is the time frame, right? It can look forward and backward. It looks forward and, oh yeah, that's possible. Looks backward, has he ever done it before? Oh yeah, go for it, instantaneously, right? That's instantaneous manifestation, right? Because he's already done it. Probability knows he's already done it. What if he wants to do something over here he's never done before? What happens? He's got an idea, a goal set. I'm going to do this. This guy goes over here, looks in the future. Hell, that's a good idea. We should do that. Let me go look back here. Oh, whoa, he's never done that before. So I have to go over here and stop him because he's never done it before, and I'll just sabotage it over here. That's called self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Right? Aha. What we forgot was the gateway, which is the Vesica Pisces right here. If you can go directly in there, everything is instantaneous. And that didn't go anywhere. That's still here.
Yeah.
Every moment.
Yep.
24/7. It never leaves you. You can't exist without it. So now you have to ask yourself, if I want to do something, why can't I do it? If I'm broke and suffering, why am I broke and suffering? Now we go back to your belief system, right? Because you believe that you're broke and suffering. Because external circumstances have put you there. But that's all fake, isn't it?
Because you get to choose how you react and
right.
to everything.
So that's what I want to leave here. Right. That's your reference point. You are capable of doing that at any moment, at any time. Period.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. So,
well, are you going to send me back?
I'm about to, but I wanted to give you a big thank you first.
Okay.
And we are so excited to be working with you in this project together. And it is okay if I come back and speak to you tomorrow, right?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for all of the information given for us today. I know so many people are gonna love and appreciate all of it and integrate this work into their lives.